Guys, it's Mike with Kiss Dog Training. I don't know about where you live, but here in Kansas City, we're getting our first significant snowstorm of the year. So it brought me to the idea of thinking about what the holidays are going to be like and how I'm going to handle having people inside the house, food, a three-legged pit bull, a Great Pyrenees, and a half German Shepherd Great Pyrenees. And it became a great idea for a new blog topic to discuss some of the things that we can do to try to make this holiday season a little bit more successful with dogs. So there's going to be 9 things that we're going to talk about today. And if you come back next, we're going to get started. Okay, guys, so the first thing I want you to understand is you're going to have a place where you can manage your dog when people are coming in and out of the house and while everybody is in the house. Let's say during dinner or if kids are running around or whatever. You can't just hope that things are going to go right. One of my favorite sayings in dog training is if you have to put hope at the word hope at the front of the sentence, you're definitely doing it wrong. So the first thing is in that living space of your house, let's set up the crate so that we have a management device where we can use it to help the dog and the people. Some of the things I'm really going to want to do is when the doorbell rings, I'm going to put the dogs in the crate, let everybody come in, give the dogs a little bit of decompression time, then let them out one at a time, let them say hi. If they get out of hand, I can kind of tell them to go back in their crate and calm down. We can give them a little small timeout. Always with a reward. I'm not yelling and screaming when we're doing this, but I got to have some way to manage them. The other aspect of this is I don't want you to put the crate way back in the back bedroom or the basement because that's going to be isolating the dog and giving them more a reason to overstimulate or get excited as they're hearing everything else go on out in the world, in their house. So, all right, second session. Train the crate ahead of time. Okay, guys. Now, if we're going to use a crate and we're going to bring it out during the holidays with Christmas trees and turkey and ham and gifts and all sorts of stuff in our house, we have better have already trained our dogs to use the crate, okay? Both of my boys were high school golfers. That's when I got into golf, and I'll be honest, I was terrible. But I also didn't practice. So I couldn't necessarily be upset with myself because my golf game sucked because I never practiced. So if you don't practice using a crate and make it normal, don't get angry at your dog when you pull it out right at Christmas or the holidays and cram the dog in it and the dog howls through the entire celebration. So another quick little tip here, the idea of this second session is, it's already December 1st. You better be, I wouldn't even try a crate idea in this type of situation if my dog wasn't accustomed to the crate. I would probably instead try to get my dogs into doggy daycare or board them for a day or a night so that they wouldn't be present when everybody is in my house. Only because if you have no experience with a crate, it's going to take more than just 23, 24 days to get them used to it. But again, don't expect success if you haven't practiced. That's number 2. So we're either going to use the crate or we're not going to use the crate. It all depends on how much practice we've done before. But let's say we do go down this path and we're going to use the crate. Well, we're going to need some interactive feeding toys or Kongs or something that's going to take some time while the dog is in the crate to help them have a positive association with the crate. My favorite are Kongs. Okay, so the first thing I will do is use 80% dog food, 20% binding agent. I see a lot of people who will completely cram a Kong full of peanut butter. And to be honest, that's way too many calories. And it could also have some, let's say, gastrointestinal issues if you give them too much. So let's put a Kong in a coffee cup so it's standing straight up. And let's get a Tupperware container. Let's put a couple of cups of dog food in it. And then let's put a spoonful of peanut butter. You could use applesauce. You could use pumpkin. You could use plain yogurt. There's lots of different things. You can Google what to put in a Kong. But we want just enough of this binding agent to hold the pieces of dog food together as I'm packing them in there. And then I will freeze them. Now, a little sidebar here. If your dog's not used to using Kongs, I would give them to them unfrozen so that they learn how to clean out a Kong and get excited when they see a Kong versus what the hell is this frozen thing that is frustrating me and making me angry. As the dog gets really good at cleaning out a regular Kong, then we can start freezing them, which will take even longer. But think about it. If I put the dog in the crate and I give them a frozen Kong and they spend 15, 20 minutes cleaning out the Kong, wearing out their brain, getting a full tummy, what are they going to want to do next? They're going to lay down and probably take a nap. And this is something that you should probably be doing if you haven't trained with a Kong, but these are the kind of things you can use. You could use a bully stick. You could use rawhides. I'm not the biggest rawhide fan, but as long as you're monitoring the dog, you're probably a little bit better off. There's lots of interactive feeding toys you can get on Google. But again, we want this to be a positive experience, so don't just stick a dog in a crate and expect them to just sit there and do nothing. Give them something positive, rewarding to do while everybody else is enjoying the holidays. So let's talk about letting the dogs out of the crate, okay? You're going to have house guests that love dogs. You're going to have house guests that don't like dogs. You're going to have little kids running around. And it's going to be important that when the dogs first go in the crate, when the doorbell rings, that we are going to break down the rules for everybody, okay? And I think the most important rule, number one, if there's kids involved, get hold of their parents and make sure the parents understand you have to manage your own kids, okay? I don't want anybody pulling my dog's ears, pulling tails, but I don't want to have that conversation while it's going on. This is a good time where when the dog goes in the crate, everybody's coming in, they're calming down. I can kind of lay the ground rules. I think the second most important rule is the idea of playing hard to get. There are going to be some people who just love dogs so much that they are going to want to just overstimulate the dog. And it needs to be really clear that, look, I want you to sit down. I want you to ignore the dogs. I don't want you to interact with them. I want you to wait for the dog to come to you and then reward them with a piece of food or a piece of treat. Now, I say food. I'm not talking the food off their plate. Okay, we haven't even gotten to eating yet. But if you want to reward the dog and you want to interact with the dog, then play hard to get, because sometimes coming fast at a dog is going to be scary. Where I would rather reward the dog for being brave and coming to the person and getting a reward, asking for a sit, whatever, than a person chasing the dog around the house going, oh, but I want to love you, I want to love you, I want to love you. We need to understand they need a chance to decompress. They choose to come to you, you don't go to them. All right, number 5. Don't let the guest hype up the dog. Okay, this fifth section, kind of 4.5 really, but just be aware of your dogs, okay? So you as the owner have given everybody the rules. You've told them what you want. You're going to have to coach the human beings in the room too. The big thing here is don't let them rev up the dogs to a point of overstimulation to where the dog runs and knocks over a Christmas tree. The dog gets all excited and, maybe nips at somebody, or they start barking, or they get crazy. You're going to have to be like, hey, look, you got to slow down. We can't do this. There's too many people in the house. Again, if you find that the people are just not listening, it might be time to get a Kong out of the freezer, put the dogs away for a little bit in the living room where they can be out and about. We're going to talk a little bit about maybe moving them elsewhere a little further down this list, but you got to advocate for your dog. If the people are just not listening, let's give them a break. It's nap time. The dogs need to do something, okay? So there you go. All right, number 6, breaks are allowed. Okay, guys, let's be realistic. I'm a dog trainer. I always want to work on training the dog and teaching the dog to do the right things. But breaks are allowed. This is Christmas. You might have 15 people in your house. I've got 3 dogs, 2 big ones and 1 medium one. And I might decide, hey, it's better off right now. Let's just go put the dogs away. I might have an extra set of crates in the bedrooms, or I might put them down in the basement. I might send them down with one of my kids. Don't be thinking that you have to force the holiday on your dogs as well. Give yourself the grace of, okay, maybe, hey, everybody, let's go ahead and let the dogs eat dinner tonight, and I'll get all their food and I'll take them down in the basement and I'll go ahead and feed them. But don't stop yourself from enjoying your family and your time. And this might be the case where if you have that one family member who isn't going to follow rules and is getting the dogs all revved up, which is ruining the holiday for everybody else, the easiest way without starting World War III might be saying, hey, it's dinner time. I'm going to go ahead and take the dogs downstairs. And we just kind of bypass that for a little bit and give the dogs a chance to decompress. And maybe later in the evening, they can come back upstairs. Okay? Number 7, watching for stress signals. Okay, so I keep talking about this overstimulation thing. What should we be looking for? What should we be looking? Okay, let's talk about yawning. Let's talk about licking the lips. Let's look at things like turning away, not wanting to make eye contact, constantly moving their face away. So if somebody's coming right at the dog and the dog keeps kind of turning their head away from the person, probably a good indicator that this is not going well. Obviously, overstimulation can be a situation of barking and stuff like that, or whining or crying. But the big ones, the ones that concern me more, like avoidance. They're trying to get away from a child, or they're trying to get away from somebody who's pushing too hard and wanting to be too much of a friend. You can have that scaredy cat dog that needs a little bit of time to meet people and warm up to them. Well, give them that time. Whale eye would be another one where you see the whites of the eyes a lot more than you're used to. Tucked tail, things like that. These are easy kind of body position things you can look at body language wise of knowing your dog is not comfortable. And let's face it, you know your dog better than anybody there at the holidays. You know when your dog's not comfortable. Don't argue with somebody. Just come up with a way. Hey, we're going to go outside and go to the bathroom. We're going to go downstairs and eat. We're going to go ahead and put the dogs away with some Kongs. Give them some space. Advocate for your dog so that everybody at your house can enjoy the holidays. But it's being an advocate for your dog. I will never put my dog in a situation I know they're going to fail. I'm only going to put my dog in situations where they are going to succeed. And they are my dogs. So it's my opportunity to manage the situation. Now, keep in mind, earlier on in this, I talked about taking the dogs to a boarding facility or taking them to doggy daycare or things like that. If you don't think your dogs are ready for this and you want to enjoy your holiday and you want to not have to worry about what's going on with the dogs, then go to a boarding facility, go to a doggy daycare where they can have fun with their buddies and it can be a good experience for them. Because if you're not prepared to kind of back away from your enjoyment of the holidays so that you can manage and watch the dogs and keep everything in a positive light, well, then don't do it. It's just that easy. You have to advocate for the dogs. Okay. But I've given you some tricks where, hey, I can, do little breaks throughout the holiday events, and it would probably be a lot harder for somebody with like me with 3 dogs. If I just had one, that would be pretty easy to handle. So again, one thing I tell my clients all the time is 1 dog is a lot of work. 2 dogs is 3 times as much work. 3 dogs is 9 times as much work. If you've got 4, it's 81 times as much work. It's an exponential growth pattern of work each dog you add, okay? So think about this before you decide you want your entire family coming to your house with all your dogs, if you have more than one. Just something to think about. Basically, think about these things before you invite everybody over for the holidays. You don't have to have your dogs with you for those 4 hours to meet everybody. Okay, there's nothing wrong. You could go to they could go to a friend's house. They could go to a doggy daycare. They could go to a boarding facility. If you haven't practiced having your dog out in public in crazy, energetic, fun environments, this is probably going to be really hard to do. So this isn't so much of how do I force a square peg in a round hole and make it work. It doesn't always work. And if you have to think, is this going to work? It's probably not going to work. So what I want you to do is just sit down and have a family meeting before you do it. This is the beginning of December. We got the entire month almost before we're making this decision. Now, I'm going to be honest. You may have a hard time finding a doggy daycare or a boarding facility this late in the game, but you can probably find a friend. You could probably do something else. Just advocate for your dog. I mean, you want to have fun. The dog wants to have fun. Everybody coming to your house wants to have fun. And if we turn it into this, you're in trouble 24/7, me yelling and screaming. I mean, I'm sure you've been to holiday parties where there's a bunch of kids running around and it's the same scenario. I think it's just important to be prepared before you go into it. So I hope these little 9 or 10 ideas will help you a little bit with the holiday season. It's Mike with Kiss Dog Training. Come back and we'll talk dog again. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.